Hello, I'm Thea Bennon, a partner at Scown.
And I'm Kirstin Sibley, an associate in the team.
We're going to talk to you today about the importance of pensions in any divorce settlement. Pensions are often overlooked from the outset when we see clients because they are so fixated on the immediate need and the here and now that sometimes they lose sight of considering retirement provision and future need. So that's the first thing we commonly come across. Secondly, the court has power to share a pension, but that's not just the pension built up during the relationship, it's also before and or after it as well. Kirstin, what kinds of information would a client need to pull together before meeting with one of our team?
Really helpful information that we can have from clients are details of all pension schemes, however small, to include when they started contributing to that pension and if they've stopped, when they stopped contributing to it. We will also need something called a cash equivalent value, or better known as a CEV, for every pension scheme. Clients often give to us a copy of their projected forecast or an annual statement from their pension provider, but a CEV is a very specific value that we need from the pension provider, and it provides a real-time value essentially of what that pension is worth if it were to be transferred into another scheme today. Now, it's quite common for those CEVs to take a while to come through, particularly for public sector schemes. So it's worth speaking with pension providers early to make the request, and there can sometimes be a cost for obtaining one as well. Another thing that I quite commonly come across are clients who have pensions in payment who don't believe that the pension has a CEV because it's in payment, but that's not true. All pensions have a CEV whether they're in payment or not. So then when we've got all of that information from the clients, what do we do with it, Thea?
So it's a common misconception that just splitting a pension in the middle will provide each person with equal retirement provision. That's not the case. So sometimes the court can use the capital value to decide how the pension should be divided, but that's not very accurate. More commonly, we will look at the retirement benefits that will be provided, i.e. the income, as a basis for pension sharing. So once we have the CEV or the cash equivalent valuation, we will consider with a client whether we need to get an actuary involved. And an actuary is a pensions expert whose job it is to consider and explain all the pension sharing options that might be available. And they'll also help us look at the types of schemes held. So a money purchase scheme, which is a scheme that the holder pays into, is very different from a public sector scheme, which is linked to a holder's salary and is comparably more valuable. And what the actuary will do is look at all of the information we provide and help us understand what a fair outcome would be on retirement, both as a lump sum, which is paid out on retirement, but also in income terms, so looking specifically at the pension benefits that will be provided. So it's really important for us to understand all the nuances of each scheme and all the scheme rules so that we can ensure all the necessary information and questions are asked in the letter of instruction to the actuary. What does the court have the power to do in relation to pensions, Kirstin?
So the court will look at pension sharing orders or offsetting. Pension sharing orders involve a portion of the scheme member's pension being carved off and transferred into the spouse's own name, which they then draw down on in retirement. And that happens at the time of the divorce and not at some point in the future. Pension offsetting is where the spouse with a claim against the spouse with pension asset actually retains more capital now and forgoes the claim against the pension in exchange. So that's offsetting their claim, essentially. It's important, I think, to stress, though, that pensions and capital are completely different, and a pound of your pension is not the same in cash terms as a pound in your bank account. And that's why, in general, the court prefers to look at pension sharing orders with the benefit of the advice from a pensions expert, but it will also consider offsetting options where that's agreed between the parties.
Okay, so if there are 3 takeaways from today, they would be to consider pensions from the outset and not to overlook them, because they are extremely valuable, and it's easy to get caught up in the here and now, but you do really need to look at future need as well as current need. The second would be to make sure you obtain all cash equivalent values, or CEVs, in relation to all pensions held, however big or small. And the third would be to work with us in instructing an actuary to make sure we're all informed of what pension sharing options are available and what that looks like on retirement in both income and capital terms, so that a fair outcome can be achieved for both parties.